Today on Sports Central, we go over a college football bowl preview and prediction on the 2021 Pinstripe Bowl matchup between the Maryland Terrapins and the Virginia Tech Hokies. Maryland, of course, out of the Big Ten. Virginia Tech out of the ACC. Both teams have had good seasons to this point. Should make for a good matchup here in the Pinstripe Bowl. We'll be going for a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today, starting out with your team trends. Maryland beat Rutgers 40-16 in the last game of the regular season. Overall, solid win and finish out the season for the Terps, and they're 6-6 heading into this matchup. I mean, Big Ten's a tough conference, and Maryland, it was huge to get that win against Rutgers because basically, I mean, that Maryland-Rutgers game was a play-in game to get to a bowl game. I mean, Rutgers would be in this situation if they were to have won that game. So for Maryland, that was a big win, and they get up to 6-6 to finish out the season. As for the Hokies, they beat Virginia, their rival, 29-24. That's how Virginia Tech got to a bowl game. So both teams clinched bowl eligibility in the last week of action, and the Hokies beat their rival in Virginia 29-24. They are 6-6 heading into this matchup. Both teams have a one-game winning streak as well coming into this game. It'll be on Wednesday, December 29th in Bronx, New York. Kickoff time is 2:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Spreads go with Maryland here by 3.5. So the Terrapins are favored here just slightly, but the FPI is going with Virginia Tech here, 63.1%. So that's a pretty significant difference there. The FPI is going with Virginia Tech somewhat heavily, and the spread going with Maryland here. So somewhat unusual there, something to notice. But over/under is 55 heading into this matchup. Series history, Maryland leads at 16-15. So these two teams have played quite a few matchups. This is actually a former rematch of what we used to see in the ACC when Maryland was in the ACC before they moved to the Big Ten. So yeah, the Terps and the Hokies, they've played actually quite a bit in their histories. Last game was in 2013 when Maryland won the game. Here's your stat comparison for this one as well. Maryland, 27 points per game, 32 points allowed, 307 pass yards a game. So a heavy passing offense here with the Terrapins, and then 130 rush yards a game. Then for yards allowed, you got 258 passing, 157 for rushing. As for Virginia Tech, 24 points per game, 22 points allowed, 179 pass yards a game, 190 rush yards. So kind of the opposite here. Virginia Tech is mainly a rushing offense. And then for yards allowed, you got 219 passing, 165 for rushing. So, I mean, you got two very different football teams here. Maryland, offensively, they're a better football team than they are defensively. And kind of the opposite for Virginia Tech. Their offense is pretty poor, but their defense has been what's keeping them in games. So, I mean, it's an interesting matchup. You got a lot of variables here to work with. I mean, Maryland, they got a great quarterback, Talia Tagovailoa, over 3,500 yards on the football season, 24 touchdowns, 11 picks. I mean, he's had a good season. I mean, of course, there's definitely some improvement that still can be done. His accuracy isn't very good, but, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, otherwise, I mean, he's in the 60s, so that's definitely shown improvement, and that's definitely something to work on if you're Talia in this situation. But, I mean, this Maryland team, they've got plenty of talent offensively. That's the thing. I mean, it's just their defense is so it's been so underwhelming all season long. I mean, if their defense was better, Maryland is potentially a Big Ten contender right now. I mean, their offense has got all it needs, but once again, defensively, it's just not getting it done with 32 points allowed per game. That's not going to win you many football games here. But I mean, if you look at Virginia Tech, their offense has been what's been keeping them behind this football season. I mean, 22 points allowed per game. Defensively, that stat is excellent, but offensively, only 24 points a game in this 2021 season. And I mean, passing-wise, I mean, you got Burmeister, who's been the primary quarterback pretty much all season long. I mean, he's a good quarterback, but he definitely could be better. I mean, he's got 1,900 yards on the football season, 14 touchdowns. That's about half the yardage that Tagovailoa has on the football season. But Blackshear, he's had a big part in this football team as well, 700 yards of rushing and then 6 touchdowns. And I mean, if you're looking at it receiving-wise, Jarrett on Maryland's had a big season, nearly 800 yards of receiving and then 5 touchdowns as well. But defensively, if you're looking at it that way, Maryland's pass defense hasn't been very good. So, I mean, for Virginia Tech being primarily a rushing offense, going up against a team that's, I mean, even Maryland's rushing defense isn't very good, but, I mean, it's not quite as bad as their pass defense. But, I mean, even for Virginia Tech here, Virginia Tech's rush defense has been kind of poor this season, despite their defense as a whole performing somewhat well. So, a lot of factors here in play in this matchup. Here's some recent matchups as well. Maryland beat Rutgers 40-16, got railed by Michigan 18-59. Michigan, of course, that's where their hot streak started, and there they are. They're in the college football playoff right now. Lost to Michigan State 21-40, lost to Penn State 14-31, beat Indiana 38-35, which you could consider that to be a good win, but Indiana turns out they're 2-10. As for Virginia Tech, beat Virginia 29-24, lost to Miami 26-38, so that was a tough loss, but beat Duke 48-17, lost to Boston College 3-17, only scored 3 points in that game, and beat Georgia Tech 26-17. So, I mean, both teams are pretty inconsistent. I mean, you got Maryland Maryland's gotten blown out a couple of times big, but Virginia Tech down the stretch, I mean, they don't really have any terrible blowout loss. I mean, of course, they lost to Pitt 20-7, only scored 3 points on Boston College, but this team has been, I mean, they've fought in pretty much every game. Maryland, on the flip side, you can't really say that about. I mean, I'm sure they fought against Michigan, just Michigan is too good of a football team, but I mean, that's not really, I mean, the scoring difference, I mean, Virginia Tech has kept a lot of games closer than Maryland, but I mean, then again, Maryland's played a much tougher schedule than Virginia Tech. The Big Ten is a whole different animal in comparison to the ACC this season especially. But some key points for this one: Maryland 6-6, both teams are 6-6. Talia Tagovailoa has over 3,500 pass yards on the season. Big impact player there. Virginia Tech, that's going to be a big key, is potentially picking him off a couple of times, forcing a couple of turnovers, and throwing him off. That'll be huge for them. And I mean, defense hasn't really been much of a strength this season. Once again, I mean, this Maryland football team, if they could have a better defense, I mean, Maryland, they could be up to 9 wins right now potentially. And I could see, I mean, this offense has potential to get them up to 9-10 wins. It's just, once again, the defense has been a big issue in this 2021 season for this football team. Quality wins include West Virginia and Rutgers for Maryland. They did beat the Mountaineers back in the earlier parts of the season. They're a decent football team in the Big 12. They're in a bowl game, but Rutgers also is a good win for Maryland. But as for Virginia Tech, have primarily a rushing offense. Their defense has been good at points. But of course, I mean, the defense has been a bit inconsistent. Both teams are pretty inconsistent in general, but some quality wins for the Hokies. You beat North Carolina, which was a big win. Middle Tennessee State, they're in a decent bowl game, and beat Virginia as well, your rival. Probably the signature win of the season there. But North Carolina at the time, I mean, I think the Tar Heels were ranked in the top 10. Yeah, they were number 10 in the nation when Virginia Tech played them and got the upset. I mean, it looked like it'd be the Hokies' year, but I mean, obviously a couple of losses down the stretch have caused that not to happen. But overall, I mean, Virginia Tech, they've got a couple of good wins. Maryland really hasn't beaten anyone good in this football season. But that being said, let's get to the prediction here. A lot of factors to consider, but I'm going to go with the Terrapins here. 20-24 is my predicted final score. This is basically a coin toss. 51% towards Maryland. I mean, this is about as close as it gets. Both teams are, I mean, they're good football teams, and I think Virginia Tech is very capable of winning this game. They fought in every single game. Maryland has gotten blown out a little bit down the stretch. But then again, both teams have got good wins to come into this matchup. Maryland blew out Rutgers, and Virginia Tech beat Virginia, which was a big win. So, I mean, both teams are coming off of big wins. Virginia Tech has been more competitive. Maryland has gotten blown out a couple times, but once again, strength of schedule does make a difference. The Terps have played a lot tougher teams. They played Michigan and Michigan State and Penn State and all those football teams. So, I mean, Maryland, they've played Ohio State, yeah. So, I mean, they've played a much tougher schedule. I just feel like that comes into play here, and Maryland gets the win by a score of 28-24. I do take the Terps to cover and the under as well on the over-under. But that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this game, and I appreciate you guys all watching. As always, stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I'll see you later.